Hi, Stephen Veronica Kibler here again, and today we are at the Tennessee Museum of Aviation. Or Tennessee Museum of Aviation, that's it.
So come along with us as we go inside and check it out.
Yeah, we're going to check out a little bit of American history in here. All right, so we're going on Dolly Parton Parkway here. And you see that big furniture store on the right, your turn into the Museum of Aviation will be right up here. The name of the street is Air Museum Way. You see it's right here. And you're going to go past, you're going to see that big furniture store, and then there's going to be a church behind that. And you just keep on going back up towards the left. Then you'll see the big hangar back there where all the Aviation Museum airplanes are.
Yes. It's in a beautiful location. It's got all this beautiful greenery around it and trees.
You know, I highly recommend going to this Aviation Museum if you're in the area. I mean, there's so many attractions in Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg, and all that, but this is, real American history here. And I think if you're in the area and you want to, show your kids, something of, American history, this is a good place to go.
Yes, indeed.
Or if you're just a historian at heart. Anyway,
yes, yes. And here we are inside the museum. We bought our tickets and we are going in.
Mm-hmm. I do give discounts for locals, and they give discounts for seniors and military, I think.
So the first part we're going into is the gallery, and it has exhibits and artifacts. Mm-hmm. And then later on we'll go into the hangar.
Mm-hmm. Feel free to pause the video at any moment if you want to read any more of the writings, the placards and stuff, if you want to read them a little more in detail. There's so much to read, see, and do.
Yes. Yes, you can spend easily at least, I would say, 2 hours in here if you really go through and read all the placards and time looking at everything.
Yeah. It could definitely go longer.
Now, we went in July, which is very warm out here, so the gallery is air conditioned. The hangar is not.
The hangar is not air conditioned.
Keep that in mind. If you're going, you might want to, go early in the morning as soon as they open up. Or if you don't have time to get there early, then maybe alternate. Look at some things in the hangar and then come inside to the go back out. That way you can stay nice and cool. Because the hangar does get pretty warm later in the afternoon.
Yes, it does.
They don't have air conditioning in it.
Now, one of the first displays is the Arizona. So I took my hat off here in honor and memory of all those that were lost on the ship Arizona. And the rest of those who perished in the attack on Pearl Harbor. It's actually a piece of the Arizona right there they have on display. Now, the Arizona ship, one thing I learned from this display is it was a lot older ship than what I first thought. I thought it was something maybe built in, the late 30s. But it was actually built much earlier than that. It was built like during World War I, not put into action though till after World War I was over. So it was, quite a bit older ship than I thought.
So that's what's kind of neat about these museums.
Yeah, you learn stuff.
You learn history.
Yeah, as you can see there, they started building in 1914.
Yeah. Commissioned in October of 1916. Then it was modernized between 1929 and 31, and again 1940 and 41. These are some fantastic photos.
Mm-hmm. You know, you might ask, why do they have a display on the Arizona? Well, the Arizona was sunk by a aviation. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it was an attack
Mm-hmm.
on America from the air.
The Pearl Harbor attack.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, in 1941.
December 7th, the day that will live in infamy.
Well, President Franklin D. Roosevelt was our president. So again, just you can learn a lot of history in just a few minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the, you know, what you learn in high school and all that takes, you know, months.
It takes months. You can take a semester, and what I can learn in 15 minutes. You know, walking through, looking at one of these,
look at these museums.
Exhibits.
Yeah, but there was several people perished on December 7th.
1,177 lost their lives.
Mm. Now, I've never been to Hawaii, to Pearl Harbor, to where the Arizona still lays. But one of these days, it's on my bucket list.
If we ever do get the chance to go to Hawaii, that's definitely a place I want to visit.
Mm-hmm. So if you've been there, leave us a comment saying what you thought of the Arizona monument.
And here we're going to look at some of the uniforms and outfits that the pilots used throughout history. And how they've improved them.
Yeah. Again, we learned a lot about the improvements of the pilots' uniforms, as far as actually the uniform they wore while flying.
Mm-hmm.
Our
nephew, I believe Ethan, is really into these historical uniforms. He likes to look at them and learn the history of how they, like you said, improved them. I think he would enjoy this museum very much. Mm-hmm. And he served in the military as well.
Yeah, he was a Iraqi war veteran. I served in the Marine Corps back in the early 80s. But I was a motor transport mechanic. I wasn't an aviator or didn't work in the air wing or anything like that.
What was fascinating to me about these uniforms is how they've improved. How being a regular civilian, I never think about, the pilots, how I guess it is very cold up in the air and up in the sky the high elevations, and they've improved the suits to make them warmer, and then there's certain parts of the outfit that they wear to make sure that the blood in their legs don't get pooled.
It keeps
with the gravity that pulls down on you so that they don't pass out up in the air.
Yeah, so when the G-forces go high, you don't pass out.
Yes, and then the scarves. I've seen that in the older movies where the pilots wear scarves. That was to keep their necks warm and keep the necks from having the helmets chafe on the neck.
Oh,
protection.
Okay.
So a lot of different little details in these placards, which I found very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very interesting. The goggles, they used the scarf also to clean off their goggles when, things would fly on them, including like oil, So super interesting.
Yeah. Now, Veronica's a lot better at reading all this stuff than I am. I like to just look at it.
I actually read it.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, our women in the military.
Well, that's part of history, is learning and learning to improve upon, things. That's what I love about history. What worked, what didn't work. Let's see what we can improve on.
Now, this is one exhibit that I thought was interesting, that I've never seen this at any war-type museum before, was they really gave a lot of credit to chaplains and what they went through. And Lord knows that the chaplains are a very important part of military service.
Yes, they put their lives on the line as well as they're giving rights to the military people that have been injured or are out there in the field, and
Yeah.
they come to give them their rights as they know they may
Yeah.
not make it. So they're also putting their lives in danger, and some of them have perished doing that.
Yeah.
So definitely have served.
I mean, they're true
their
heroes
country.
also.
Mhm.
I mean, so they had quite a few displays on different chaplains in their service, which is something I wasn't expecting when I walked into this Museum of Aviation. There's so much more to it than just aviation. And again, the chaplains, of course, Medal of Honor winners. That's a Medal of Honor there. And yeah, they just do so much for the troops and all that.
So I did try to go slowly on the filming on this, but definitely there's a lot there to read. So again, feel free to pause if you're watching this on your TV. Pause the video, and you can definitely take your time reading the placards, which I found super interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's more modern flight suit there.
They added flares, radio, sewing kit, food rations to their outfit. If they get shot down, they have flotation devices.
Mm-hmm.
In one of the placards I even read where they included like candy bars.
Yeah,
So
gotta have something
to eat.
Yeah, gotta have energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got your dress uniforms. And, yeah.
This one's from Desert Storm.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely more modern.
Yes.
And we have nephews who serve in the Air Force and other branches of the military. So I'm sure this is the type of outfits that they use. At least one of them. I know is a pilot. Mm-hmm.
Pilot. Mm-hmm.
Oh, even their sunglasses, specifically designed to protect their eyes from the intense sun and high altitude. And it went by too fast. I didn't finish reading it.
Yeah.
Or another beautiful uniform.
Again, another more modern pilot uniform. Another chaplain. There were several chaplain exhibits that they were given honor to. That's the more modern, I think, like this was from Afghanistan, maybe. That's the type of helmets that they wore in Afghanistan. When I was in, we wore what they call the old pot helmet. Mine was more of the Vietnam era, helmet and stuff.
Yeah, so even the helmets have
Changed over
the years, yes.
Mm-hmm.
They had a book that you could sign and leave a comment or a thought for some of these fallen heroes.
That's the Vietnam medal. Yeah, see the Vietnam helmet here. That's the style of helmet that I wore when I was in the service.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A lot of artifacts from World II,
Yeah.
um,
There's
1940s.
Some, I think those were some German rifles, right?
I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so, if I remember
Some of
correctly.
them. Yeah. Well, that was a Japanese rifle there. Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they had rifles from Japan.
Oh,
and
there's
Germany.
there's a German one.
Yeah, the German bayonet. So they have artifacts from other countries. You know, people who were our enemy at the time. You know, so there's going to be some stuff from other countries here as well.
Which again, very interesting, you know, when you set it next to our equipment and look at it, you know.
Mm-hmm. See the differences.
Yes. Did the helmets how different
Yeah.
they were?
Yeah, that's the German style helmet from the World War II era.
It says this had the flip up sunscreen. 2 down and 1 to go. The bad guys.
Yeah.
The bad guys.
Yeah.
And look at this wool coat. Definitely
Yeah.
need that in the winter time, or when if you're traveling through countries that are very, very cold. Looks like one of the older
Yeah, definitely
pilot
old.
outfits.
And then they had their safety vests that if they were to go down in water somewhere.
And leave guide for again went by too fast.
For London.
For
Yes,
London, okay,
yeah.
so-
And they got,
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
they-
do's and don'ts, right?
yeah,
When you're in a foreign
they'd
country.
always tell you. I remember when we were going into Korea that, you know, they tell us when we were coming off a ship, before we got off a ship, and let us know about the do's and don'ts and what not to eat and things like that.
Yeah, different culture, different foods, different way of speaking, different, you know,
Yeah,
everything.
Different customs. you know.
Customs, yeah. That you got to be aware of and respect and
Mhm. Yeah.
you not say something that's wrong, you know,
Exactly.
get you in trouble.
Yeah.
You know? And I read that some of these items are on loan from
Oh,
people
okay.
who own them.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah, they're on loan, so they're not owned by the museum.
Oh, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the old foot lockers, I tell you, that's everything you owned was would fit in a foot locker, especially like boot camp at time. You know, when you get out to your regular duty stations and stuff, you can have more stuff. But like when you're in boot camp, everything that's yours fits in a foot locker. you know.
Interesting,
Yeah.
right? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
tiny living at its
Yeah.
best.
And of course, that's the old K ration box. You know, when I first went in, we had C rations, and then by the time I got out, had the MREs. So I was in the time, you know, where they phased out the C rations and brought in the MREs.
I don't know what the difference is between those.
Well, a canned ration is a C ration, and then the MREs came in plastic bags. You know, and you know that's how they served them, was in these
Okay.
little, you know, plastic sealed.
Oh, okay.
bags.
So, okay.
Yeah.
I think much bigger too, weren't they?
Well, I think they've tried to take up less space. I thought was
Oh.
one of the
Oh.
reasons was
Okay.
for the MREs and just different packaging.
Oh, different packaging. Okay.
You know, the canned rations were, you know, you had to open them up with a can opener and all that stuff. Where the MREs you can just open up with
The bag. Okay.
The bag.
Okay.
So a lot of Marines still have their John Wayne, their P-38 can opener. You know.
Like the one we saw at the other museum.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Bush's Museum.
Yeah,
Bush's,
they had
Bush beans.
the P-38 can opener on display.
Yes. Yes, we saw it there.
Yeah.
Survival guides. Very important.
Yeah. Officer's Guide. So many books to tell you what you're supposed to do and not do and all that stuff. You know, I still have my books from the Marines.
And here's another exhibit
Yeah.
with this big, beautiful engine.
Now, one thing, you know, we kind of learned is why they went to that style with the big circular, you know, piston-driven engine, you know, so they could be cooled easier as opposed to the inline or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
For the aircrafts.
Yes, for the aircraft, of
Mhm.
course. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was a P-47 Thunderbolt. It's a very useful plane in the World War II era. You know, it made me want to look up what Pappy Boyington flew, and it was the Corsair aircraft, which I don't believe they had any in this museum, but you know, that was what Pappy Boyington flew, who was a famous American pilot
Oh,
in the Marines.
from what era?
World War II.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. They made a TV show about him, the Baba Black Sheep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Even though I read how planes actually fly, I still can't fathom the
Yeah,
idea
no,
that they
it's-
actually do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something that big and heavy can stay up in the
Yeah.
air is just amazing to me.
Yeah, and ships also, like how could something
So big and heavy float, right?
yeah. Yeah.
It's just incredible to me. It's absolutely amazing.
Now, I wasn't quite sure what these things were. I think that may have had to do something with wind tunnels for testing planes. I may have missed something when.
Yeah, wind tunnel. A single
Yeah.
blade from a 1941 wind tunnel from the NASA. Our screen's very tiny. Sorry, folks. You can pause that and read that. More engines.
Yeah, they had a lot of engines on display. This is more of an inline engine, where some of the others had the big rotary engines.
The problem, I guess, with the earlier engines is they would overheat.
Yeah.
So they had to figure that out and eventually came up with something that worked.
Mm-hmm. And they have a Tennessee Aviation Hall of Fame. They have several people that they're honoring here.
That wall was actually much
Much
larger,
larger,
than
yeah.
the clip that you saw that.
Yeah.
So it's much, much larger.
Then you go out into the hangar. And again, you know, if you're there on a warm day, it can be a little stuffy, a little warm.
Well, warm and muggy.
Yeah.
We just had some really good rain. So.
Yeah. Now that's a jet engine there. Jet propulsion. Some different types of engines. A lot of engines on display.
Mm-hmm.
here.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, you know.
a lot more interesting to folks who work on these engines probably than us who
Yeah.
don't. To me, they look very complicated.
Mm-hmm. A lot of it, a lot of these displays, they tell you where they were manufactured at and all that, and when they were in service.
I wonder if any of our viewers have ever worked on aircraft engines.
Well, I know one of my brother-in-laws was an Air Force aircraft mechanic.
Is that Kevin?
Kevin. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think he worked on the F-15.
Okay. I've forgotten about that. Yeah.
This is a MiG, which was kind of like the Soviets type jet. So again, they had some planes that were, other countries' planes that may have been used to fight against us, and somehow the museum ended up getting them. I mean, I heard stories of, especially like North Korea, pilots would come into South Korea and land their plane and just get out of their plane and give themselves up. Kind of become
interesting.
They turn themselves in. They'd rather be a prisoner of another country than to live in, a country that.
That'd be scary, going back and not knowing, your fate.
Now this helicopter here, reason why I liked it was that if you watch the beginning of MASH, the TV show MASH, they show this type of helicopter bringing in the wounded people to the MASH hospital. This was, the Korean War era type helicopter.
Yes, that's what that show was based on.
Yeah, the Korean War, based on MASH, which is a a mobile medical facility, field medical thing. So when I get this helicopter here totally restored, I would love to see it fly.
Good project for somebody to take on.
Yeah, yes it is.
Lockheed P2V6,
which made a lot of aircraft, parts for aircraft. Yeah. I actually worked at a Lockheed facility in Ontario, California for a little while.
In the security department?
In the security, yes.
You didn't work on planes?
Yeah, I didn't work on planes. Yeah.
Beach T 34B Mentor.
And then you had that big plane there, which they called a Albatross.
I don't recall.
Yeah.
Wonder why it had the Red Bull paint
Well, I
on
think
it.
that somebody had. I mean, it may have been a military plane at one time, but somebody else used it for something else. It had a sponsorship.
Grumman HU-16 Albatross. Yeah. So your memory's better than mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so some planes got repurposed. When they get done with their military service, some want to privately buy them and turn them into something else. Of course, I love the old cars there too, because I could just imagine the pilots, driving these cars.
Now, I think Aviation technology drew inspiration from a lot of the different models of cars, and definitely,
And vice versa.
the engines, the when they were first evolving the engines that were using motorcycle engines and car engines, which again overheated, and so eventually they overcame that problem. But I think these are on display as, to me, more of a comparison of the design, the inspiration, drawing
Yeah.
inspiration
Well, definitely,
from those designs.
the Corvettes got their body shape, from maybe aviation.
Oh, I think it was vice versa.
No,
No, you don't think
the
so?
planes were
The inspiration
for them, I believe,
Oh,
because
okay,
I
okay.
mean,
Yeah.
planes were flying long before the Corvette was ever invented.
Okay.
Yeah. So the aerodynamics of a plane they tried to put into like the Corvette, the sports cars. And
Okay,
stuff.
I see. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah, because that plane there is like a 1940s or early 50s plane, and of course the Corvette, the oldest one there was a 58.
That makes
Corvette,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense. Skyraider Matin Kit.
But obviously the earlier we're talking about back to the early 1900s, the cars.
I believe this kit said that it was designed to drop nearby if a pilot went down in battle, to send them some type of aid.
Oh yeah.
So they wouldn't be without radio, because I think in one occasion, they were trying to rescue a pilot, and the batteries in his radio died, and so they lost communication with him. So they had to invent something to drop nearby. The people couldn't go in. The
Right.
other military people couldn't go in. There was,
They tried to drop something in the last known location of a pilot that may have went down, and get him supplies that
Yes.
he may need.
most importantly, radio communication. So
Yeah.
they could figure out where he was.
But, we learned so much going through this aviation museum. Of course, this plane here looks like it was one that could have been used on an aircraft carrier. Another P-47.
47D. Thunderbolt.
The Jug.
Oh, got its name for its shape.
Very interesting information.
It's kind of nice that they put the specifications of the aircraft as well.
I was surprised that so many of these aircrafts, fly over 400 miles an hour. And these are, the propeller, prop planes that will fly over 400 miles an hour. Now this is a mule. This is a vehicle that I worked on while I was in the Marines. We had several of these. I was in an infantry battalion. I was in the 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines in Camp Pendleton. And, our infantry guys would I worked on them, but the infantry guys would use these to haul around ammunition and stuff like that.
I think you said the engine's in the back? Right?
The engine's in the back, and I was saying is that steering wheel would pull out forward, where I could back that thing in somewhere tight, by walking it back in and controlling everything. you didn't have to actually be riding on it in order to steer it and, control it. I could, walk in front of it and back it into a real tight area.
I bet that would have came in nice when we lived in the mountains in California.
Yes, it would. I would have loved to have one of those when we lived in the mountains.
You were cutting down all those trees. You could put them on there, stack them on them, and
things.
haul them back and forth.
But I really enjoyed working on the mule when I was, in my motor transport job. Mm-hmm. Infantry battalion, I worked on Jeeps and like the mule, another vehicle called the Gamma Goat, and the Dodge pickup truck. Mm-hmm. Then later I went to a different mechanic school and then started working on the bigger trucks and stuff like that, just swapping the engines and stuff. Mm-hmm. They had a lot of military vehicles in there, which would have used to support, aircraft and all that, the air wings and what have you, air bases.
Yeah, I read that some of these earlier versions didn't have very safe bottoms.
No.
So they drove over or I don't know if you call them bombs or whatever on the ground, and they explode and totally.
Yeah, they didn't have like if troops were riding in the back of like that half track, they would get hurt from, shrapnel and all that stuff because they're not really protected.
But I think they improved on that since.
Mm-hmm.
Probably put some type of metal plating or something on the bottom.
Yeah, they were always trying to do something to make our troops safer. This was early Jeep. It might be more of a Willys or something like that. This one here was a United States Marine Corps Jeep, but this was, again, earlier than the ones that I worked on. And of course, when I was in, the Jeeps were starting to get phased out. They were starting to bring in the Humvees and that. So I was in at an interesting time. A lot of stuff was changing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
North American P-51 Mustang.
Oh, I love the P-51. I think that's probably one of my favorite prop planes, military style. Yeah, I probably had models of these when I was a kid. I just think it was a very neat design. It looks aggressive, like it'd be super fast.
Pretty looking.
In fact, I thought
aircraft.
What I read on here is I thought they were actually faster than what they said here. One of the things I think I read, it said it flew about 400 miles an hour, but I could have swore that they flew about 500 miles an hour or so. But I could be wrong. Again, I wasn't in the Air Force or anything like that, so people that actually worked on these planes would know a lot more about them than me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we listened to the song Frenesy, in because I was curious what the song sounded like that this pilot named the aircraft after, and I couldn't get that tune out of my head after listening to it.
Yeah, it's a big band.
Yes.
Big band song.
Had that tune in my head all day.
Mm-hmm. No, Chuck Yeager was in there. Yeah. I didn't catch that first time. Chuck Yeager was a famous pilot, also test pilot.
What do you mean by test pilot?
He would fly planes to make sure that they were capable of doing what they wanted to do.
Oh, okay. And why was he famous?
Just became a legend. I don't know. I don't know all the story. If anybody else knows it, feel free to leave a comment. But I think he probably flew the fastest planes at the time. Okay. Is why he became famous.
I guess I would be kind of scary testing something for the first time. And
if I would have seen that earlier,
Yeah.
I would have done my homework so I could tell it and share it with everybody with it. I just noticed it this time through.
Yeah, I get a lot of information.
I just know that Chuck Yeager, he was always famous. He did a lot of TV commercials and stuff
Oh.
later in life, you know.
Okay.
And, but yeah, he was what people would refer to as a famous test pilot. Oh, I like this flight simulator. I thought that was really cool. It's much different than what your gaming station things would be like. This is an actual, what pilots actually sat in and would do flight simulation.
I could see putting one of these in a mall.
Yeah, I would like to see one in the mall.
You would have like people lined up
Yeah.
to the outside, you know, waiting to
I mean,
try it.
even this time era, you know, I think would be great. Yeah.
I would try it
Yeah.
if they offered, you know, these in the mall and
Yeah.
you know, to see how it feels to fly a plane. Yeah.
I wonder if this thing is even operational. I don't think I seen any signs that said it was still operational.
No.
But
the informational flyer on it was really faded. Also,
Yeah.
it was difficult to read.
but if this thing's operational and you want to put on a show, I'd be glad
To film it.
to film it and write in it. Watch you film you in it. Yeah, it looks like they had a couple more MiG type aircraft here, which I was surprised when I went in there. I didn't think I was going to be seeing MiGs in there, but it's interesting to see them. You know, see the differences between the planes, the way they're manufactured, and their purpose. You know.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what we were going to see, if there was going to be more modern aircrafts. So yeah, I was surprised that most of them were, you know, the older, because I thought they might have more modern ones on display. But
No, they're
Not
probably
at- not
still
at-
in use.
yeah, not at this museum. So
Now, when our grandbaby comes back to this museum, she'll say, "Oh, I remember these."
yeah. But I think that one of the gentlemen we were talking with at one of the restaurants was telling us, was it at the restaurant?
Yeah, I was at the restaurant we
That-
were at, and
that
he was
they,
saying that there's a museum down in Florida,
In
Pensacola
Florida.
area,
Mhm.
I believe.
That
That
has
it's a big
aircraft.
aircraft museum.
So we'll have
Aviation.
to aviation museum. So we'll have to go check that out.
Yeah, I'd like
in
to
the
go to
future.
the Smithsonian, their aircraft museum, and then check out some of these other aviation museums across the country.
Yes, absolutely. I think we're very fortunate that we have something here in Tennessee.
I mean, this is something right here in Sevierville, and it's really neat. And I don't think that many people think about. You got this wonderful museum in a place with all kinds of other attractions.
We saw a few families in here with little kids, and the little boys were just running up and down looking at all the
Yeah.
airplanes. They were really excited about them.
Mhm.
So I thought, that's the way you, at a very young age, you pique their interest. Show them different
Exactly.
things to
Yeah.
see. Let them dream. Let them,
Yeah.
see what they want to become later in life as they grow up. Do they want to work on airplanes? Do they want to fly an airplane? So.
Yeah. There's a little historical thing on Jeeps.
Yeah, I found that kind of cute. This
You
little.
know how they got
display.
up to the Humvee now, and of course, I mean the Jeeps were a big part of my Marine Corps life.
Mhm.
I had worked on the M151 Jeep,
I think a lot
which
of.
I don't think they had any actually in this museum. But
And I know I see a lot of Jeeps in this area. I know that they rent them out to people that come visit, tourists.
Oh, regular Jeeps, yeah.
Regular Jeeps, civilian Jeeps.
Uh-huh.
But I've never been in an area where I've seen
So many Jeeps, yeah.
Jeeps,
Mhm.
which is really interesting that Jeeps are very popular in this area.
Mm-hmm. Now, this Jeep here was probably one of the closest to what I worked on. This was definitely older still. Like I said, I worked on the M151 Jeep, and I think this was maybe the last model before they started coming out with the M151.
So the difficult thing about older Jeeps or older anything, even if you buy it and you want to restore it, it's difficult finding parts for them. Mm-hmm. They no longer
Well, these military
them.
Jeeps, some people like to buy them and restore them and all that, and it's definitely probably hard to find.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's something a little more modern. This was definitely a jet that was used, I think, like in the Vietnam era. The Douglas A4 Skyhawk.
And they only had half of it.
Yeah, just part of it.
That was kind of interesting. It's like, huh.
Yeah.
Well, it's better than nothing, I guess.
Yeah.
At least you get to see part of it.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like at some point you can maybe sit in the cockpit of that, because they had stairs that went up to it. It just wasn't open on the day we were there.
They might do that for the special events that they hold. You know, and I read that they also offer school field trips, group tours, reunions. So that'd be kind of neat to have a reunion here at this museum.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of interesting photos too that they have with these aircrafts displays.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the specifications, I find those very interesting
as
well.
Yeah, it's neat to read all the different information about the aircraft.
Its weight capacity, how much the aircraft weighs, how fast they go.
And then you get over to I want to call it more of a Hollywood thing. This is, some plane replicas and stuff, or parts of planes that were actually used in movies and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was not expecting that
No.
at all. So this little section over here, this exhibit area, it's definitely all pieces of aircrafts that were used to in movies.
Mm-hmm.
Behind the scenes.
Hollywood, behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which I love some of those older movies because you get to see, your imagination just fills in the rest, but you get to see part of these aircrafts and, when they're supposedly flying them, right? Because obviously they're not, but really, really neat. I love those older movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember watching, I think it was Amazing Stories. They had a story about I think it was a B-17 where the landing gear wouldn't go down, and the kid would draw the landing gear, and it actually came out
It manifested itself as he was
cartoon,
drawing it, right? Yeah. I love those stories where fantasy stories where everything works out. So they were able to land instead of crash.
Yeah.
For some reason, that episode always stayed in my mind.
It was probably one of their best episodes of that series. Yeah. In my opinion.
Yes, he's in the plane, and he's in the part where
Yeah, he was a gunner,
gunner,
down in
the gunner part
the
or
belly
belly.
gunner. Mhm.
So if the plane crashed,
Crashed, he would have
it would have
perished,
crushed. It would have crushed him,
Yeah.
right? So he was
Yeah.
really saying he was an artist, and he just took out his pad and started drawing the
Yeah.
landing gear, and
Uh-huh.
it manifested itself.
So you can see the A-Team there, and of course the Mad World
I think you were
was
telling
filmed in
me
that.
Jim Buckus, you were telling
Yeah.
me, is the voice of Mr. Magoo
Mr. Magoo,
The
and he was
cartoon?
also Thurston Howell.
in Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, yeah.
So all of these are props used in the film industry.
So that actual piece was movies and stuff before. Now we also got this glider, which looked like the plane that the Wright brothers would have flown, or they may have actually, this may have been part of their work. I'm not 100% sure on that. But yeah, that was a 1902 glider.
It looks like in really good condition. I'm thinking this might be
This is a replica.
A replica,
I'm sure.
yes.
Yeah, I would guess. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but
I have.
I would say it's a replica.
This would be a replica.
Yeah, but it just looks like it's in too good a shape. But hey, if I'm wrong, let me know. I'm going to give credit where credit is due. That was a plane used to film flying. They put the camera up front and that big nose. Yeah. So that was a neat thing to learn, that this is what would be flying up in the air when they got other planes up in the air, and they'd be flying each other or filming each other as they're flying.
To the camera person's seat there, and the camera where it would sit. And again, really interesting.
Yeah. Again, stuff I didn't know about. Didn't think I needed to know about, but I'm so glad that I learned.
Yes, because sometimes you wonder, how do they film that? Are they, it looks like a real plane that, you might be in, but they're just replicas.
Yeah, now this is a part of a real plane that filmed. They put the camera up front and they'd film planes that were actually up in the air, the way I understood it.
I can see why it's very expensive to make a movie.
Well, sure.
All the equipment that has to be purchased to actually be in the movie.
Mm-hmm. And of course, our women in the military. They had a little wall section there for a lot of women that served in the military. I always remember a story about the actress Bea Arthur. One of the Golden Girls was actually in the Marines, I believe.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I like that show. I had no idea.
So a lot of women have served in the military as well, and of course they're, the more modern day military, the women have bigger roles. They're pilots and combat type roles also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As opposed to the other eras. Now the gift shop. I love these shirts. I think these shirts were really neat.
Yeah.
That might be the one I ended up getting.
You did end up getting that shirt. Yeah, it's very beautiful.
I think I love the Hawaiian style shirts, camp shirts, Hawaiian style shirts, and I think they're so neat. And these, how can you not like a shirt that has airplanes on it?
And I did read that you can purchase items from their gift shop online.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So
Okay.
folks who are interested can definitely
Yeah.
go to the website for this museum and
Mhm.
purchase items online.
So I thought they have some really neat merchandise. The different historical books on the planes, of course. And there's the Corsair, and the B-17, which I think was a very interesting plane. So if you're a book reader, these are some interesting books they have.
They have some really beautiful T-shirts too.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, stand for the flag and kneel for the fallen. We the people. Mm.
So we thank you for watching our videos. We hope that you're enjoying the videos we're bringing you. And if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, we encourage you to do so. It sure would help us to grow our channel. So we can continue to bring you more videos of areas we travel to, places we visit, restaurants we review. And it's free to subscribe. And we also thank our subscribers who have already subscribed to our channel. Thank you so much. And if you have any information on any of the items we showed you today, feel free to share them, post a comment. We love reading your comments and also learning from our community and people who share information. If you have a question, we'll try to answer it. We're not experts on aviation or anything, but if we we are able to look something up for you from our video that we film, we can definitely try to answer any
we'll
questions
try to come
you may
up
have.
with the answer. Love all these little models and stuff. I can remember as a kid having airplane models.
So we thank you for watching our videos, and we hope that you have a great rest of your day.